Okay. And your naming of non-alkali substitute, I have not received that still. Muhammad Umar, you are asking about yesterday's questions? Yeah, I have not received that till now. Okay. Maybe if a few more students, they will upload the assignment, na? Then it will be sent to me as a batch, and then I can answer you. Okay. When did you send that, by the way? Yes, Muhammad Umar, when did you send that?
So I sent it today.
Achha. Same thing with the first law of thermodynamics also. I have not, it is not getting up, I mean, updated here. Okay, I think it should be updated here, but it is not getting updated here. This is your, no?
Yes.
So I have only one here. Okay. I don't know why is this happening. It's just said that it is getting uploaded. You can also see that my whole system is just synced, right? Just now. So let us see. Let us wait for a, like, maybe on Wednesday I can tell what is my response of first law of thermodynamics and also for the non-alkali substitution. Okay, as soon as it gets uploaded here. Okay, Abhinav is also here. How are you, Abhinav? Atif is also here. Okay. Good evening, Atif. Good evening, Abhinav. Yeah. So the last class of thermodynamics, we ended with a topic which is heat capacity, right? Heat capacity. And we saw that heat capacity is what it is. We started with heat when we said that how much heat we are giving, that will be displayed by the change in temperature. And to remove this proportionality sign, we have to put a proportionality constant C times delta T. And this is the heat capacity. We said this is the heat capacity. If I write C, with this will be equal to Q upon delta T. Q upon delta T. Whatever heat we are giving to the system divided by the rise or the, but divided by the change in temperature, divided by the change in temperature. This is heat capacity. Let us write a question on heat capacity, then we can move on to the next topic. Please write the question. A sample of ethanol please write the question with me, was supplied with 98 kilojoules of heat, which resulted in a, in a rise of temperature by 2 degrees. Calculate the heat capacity of sample. Calculate the heat capacity of sample. It's a very simple formula based question. You don't need to put much mind into it. Don't need to put much brain into it. You have all the terms here. The heat is given, the change in temperature is given. You just need to calculate the heat capacity and send me in chat. Yes, that's correct. I'm waiting for a few more answers. Atif is correct. What happened others? Reba, Rihab, Surat, Abhinav, Muhammad Umar. Yes, Surat, correct. Yes, Muhammad Umar, correct. Okay. So you have Q, which is 98 kilojoules, divided by delta T. Delta T, you can write it as either 2 degrees Celsius, or you can write the same thing as 98 kilojoule divided by 2 Kelvin. Acha. How many of you know that the difference in temperature, the magnitude will be same if we are measuring it in Kelvin or degrees Celsius? Do you know this, Atif? Yes or no?
I got to know it pretty recently, sir.
Acha. Acha, do all of you do one thing. 100 degrees Celsius minus 0 degrees Celsius. Okay. This much is equal to how much? 100 degrees Celsius, right? The difference is 100 degrees Celsius. You convert 100 degrees Celsius to Kelvin. You convert 0 degrees Celsius to Kelvin and tell me what is the change in terms of Kelvin. Okay. You tell me how much Kelvin should I write here?
100.
100 Kelvin, right? Because 100 degrees Celsius is around 373. This is 273. This will be 100. That means if you are calculating the delta T, degrees Celsius and Kelvin, it doesn't matter. Okay, not for Fahrenheit. I'm again telling you, not for Fahrenheit. Degrees Celsius and Kelvin, it doesn't matter what you are using. The magnitude of change will be same. Okay, that means I can write both of these things, 98 kilojoule by 2 degrees Celsius, or I can also write 98 Kelvin by 2 Kelvin. Now, I will prefer the Kelvin one. So this will be 98 divided by 2, which is 49. Sorry for this. Yeah, this will be 49 kilojoule per Kelvin. This is the heat capacity. Okay. Write this down. Let me know if you're done. Okay. Yeah, most of you calculated this. Okay. So I think most of you are done. Now, again, I will start with the one example. Let us say we want to talk about heat capacity. Okay. We want to talk about heat capacity and we want to keep a record of heat capacity. For example, I have water, I have, let us say, iron, I have sodium, right? I have Cl2 gas, I have O2 gas, I have N2 gas. Now, so for all of them, I want to calculate their specific heat capacities. Okay, I want to calculate the specific heat capacity. Now let us imagine. That there is a scientist who is living in, let us say he's living in Sweden. There's another scientist who is living in Kanpur. Okay. Now in Kanpur, a scientist can live in Kanpur because there is a IIT in Kanpur. So in Sweden, he is taking, let us say, 10 grams of H2O and then measuring the heat capacity of 10 gram of H2O. The Kanpur one, let us say he's taking 5 gram of H2O, right? And then he is calculating the heat capacity. So here you will say this is the CW, that means the heat capacity of water. The Kanpur one will say this is the heat capacity of water. What do you think? Both of them will be same or different? Will both of the heat capacity be same or different? Tell me. Which can hold more heat, 5 gram or 10 gram? Guys, tell me. Same or different? So what they are doing, they are measuring it, the amount of heat taken such that the change in temperature is 1 degree Celsius or 1 Kelvin. That means it this totally depends on the temperature they have taken to be same, that is 1 degree. It totally depends on Q. So what do you think? Where will be the heat more? Which will require more heat to change the temperature? 10 grams of H2O or 5 grams of H2O?
5.
Which will require more heat?
10.
10 gram will require more heat, right? So if this Q is high, that means the CW will also be high. That means both of these heat capacities will be different. Okay. Now tell me, in terms of keeping a record, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? That in India, if you go, you have the heat capacity of water, which is something different. And if you go to Sweden, the heat capacity of water is something is different. This is not good, right? Yes or no? Is this good or is this bad? Tell me.
Bad.
Bad, no? So we have to get some standard methods, okay? So there are 2 standard methods which are basically used to calculate heat capacity. So let me write heat capacity. Wait a second. Yeah. So we have heat capacity. So there are 2 ways to standardize this procedure. The one is specific heat capacity. So most of the times when you hear this word specific, you have to divide the heat capacity, whatever the heat capacity is present, by mass, okay? You have to divide that by mass. That means per gram, we are measuring heat capacity per gram. It means specific heat capacity will be equal to whatever the heat capacity is present of a sample divided by the mass of the sample in grams. If I open this formula, the C is nothing but Q by delta T. This will be multiplied by the mass of the specific sample in terms of grams, and the units will be this heat is in terms of joules, the delta T, let us say that is in Kelvin, per Kelvin, and per gram. There is another one which is known as molar heat capacity. Now, as the name suggests, this molar heat capacity, in this we are keeping the number of mole as constant, okay? So that means this is heat capacity. Heat capacity per mole. Now this Cm, it is equal to whatever the heat capacity of sample is there, we divide it by the number of moles in the sample, number of moles in the sample. So I can write this as Q divided by delta T times N, which is the number of moles. Now here the units will be joule per Kelvin per mole. Done, guys? Yes or no? Write this down. Let me know if you're done. Okay, Rehab is done. What about others? Muhammad Umar, Abhinav, Atif. Okay, somehow. Okay, Rehab and Reba are done. Okay, waiting for Atif and Surat and Muhammad Umar. Yes, Muhammad Umar and Surat, let me know if you're done, okay? Surat, are you done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What about Muhammad Umar? Okay, Muhammad Umar is also done. Now, let us define these terms. All right, specific, heat capacity. Please write with me, okay? Please write this with me. The heat required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of substance by 1 degree. Okay, by 1 degree is called specific heat capacity. Specific heat capacity. Then you have the molar heat capacity. The molar heat capacity, which is denoted by C with a subscript M. C with a subscript M. The heat capacity, we will just change this definition from 1 gram to 1 mole. From gram to mole, nothing else. The heat required to raise the temperature of 1 gram, no, of 1 mole of 1 mole of substance by 1 degree is called molar heat capacity. Write these down. Let me know if you're done. Surat, Atif, and Muhammad Umar, let me know if you're done, okay?
So then,
Done? Okay. See, all of you see that this heat capacity, we just saw that it depends on the mass, right? It depends on mass. And I'm dividing that by mass again here. Since heat capacity depends on mass, it is an extensive property. But the ratio of two extensive property is intensive. Similarly here, the ratio of two extensive, that is heat capacity and moles, both are extensive. But if I take the ratio of these two, this will be an intensive property. That means specific heat capacity and molar heat capacity, these are intensive property, but heat capacity is a extensive property. So please write a note. Molar heat capacity and specific heat capacity are intensive properties, but heat capacity is an extensive property. It is an extensive property. Now, so we have defined a new term, which is heat capacity. We have also looked at the specific heat capacity and molar heat capacity. Now, these two terms, molar heat capacity and specific heat capacity, they were used only for the standardization of the measurements, right? Standardization of the measurements. Now, by seeing the units, we can understand whether the questioner or whoever is giving us the problem, they're talking about either the specific heat capacity, because if it is specific heat capacity, that will be in joules or kilojoules per Kelvin per gram. And if it is molar, then it will be joules per Kelvin per mole. Now, let us come to the reactions. Okay, let us now come back to reactions. We know a new property, and let us see what type of reaction will be happening. Okay, what type of reaction will be happening. So, mainly, if you see the reactions that we do now, there are mostly two types of reaction. Some are done in closed container. Some are done in closed container. And some are done in open containers. Some are done in open container. Yeah, wait a second. Yes. Yes, Umar Abdullah. You can see this. Done. Okay. Now, so we have two cases. There is a closed container, and then there is an open container. Closed container, and then you have an open container. Now, if you have an open container, then whatever substance that you are having here, this will be under an external pressure of 1 atmosphere, right? It will be having some constant external pressure. So I can say constant external pressure. Now, if I have the closed container, then what will be constant? Can someone tell me constant? What will be constant if I have a closed container?
Sir, volume.
Yeah, very good, Atif. Constant volume. Okay. Now let us heat this. Let us say I'm giving this 100 kilojoules of heat, and I am just giving this open container also 100 kilojoule of heat. Okay. Now there will be a, let us say this is case 1 and this is case 2. There will be a change in temperature here. There will be also a change in temperature here. Now, what do you guys think? Will the change in temperature same or different? The change in temperature will be same or different? Take your time, think and tell me. Now think about a gas stove where you have, these type of conditions, okay? You are heating a particular, let us say you are heating water or something. You have a closed container, you have an open container. Those who have used gas stove and LPGs, they can, I hope they can answer me. Tell me. Atif, Abhinav, Umar Abdullah, Reba, Rihab, and Surat. I'm not asking what will be the change in temperature. I'm asking you, will both of them have same change in temperature or there will be increase? I mean, maybe you can say which one will be larger and which one will be smaller. Okay, Rihab is saying different. What about you, Surat? What do you think? The change in temperature in both the cases will be same or different? Yes, Surat. Acha, you're answering in chat. Okay. Atif, have you ever boiled water? Atif?
Yes, sir.
Acha, what do you think? What is more efficient? You close the lid of container or you open the lid of container? Tell me. Atif, no idea?
No.
Acha. Okay, maybe you can ask your mom. She will tell you which is more efficient. Whether you should boil the water with, with the lid open or you should close the lid. Okay. So obviously, if you close the lid, it will get heated more fastly, right? The change in temperature will be higher if you have a closed container. I hope all of you agree. Yes or no? Reba, Muhammad Umar, Abhinav.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, fine. See, these have used gas stove and all. Now, if I talk about the heat capacity in both of these cases, now if I'm taking the same things also here, okay, let us say whatever substance I'm taking the first case, the substance is same in the second case, okay. So whatever heat capacity I will be calculating here, this will be, the Q is same, but delta T one is different here, and here the delta T is different, okay. So delta T1 is different here and delta T2 is different, but the heat is same, Now, it means that whether we are having a constant volume or we are having a constant pressure, the heat capacities change. And these are known as the CV. We have this term CV. It is the heat capacity at constant volume. And CP is the heat capacity at constant pressure. So now I hope all of you agree that we need a few more terms to define yes or no. Because
Yes,
these are not very alien cases that you have closed container and open container. Okay, these are very valid cases that you can have sometimes closed container and you can have open container according to whatever reactions you are doing. Fine. So CP and then you have CV. We need to formulate. Acha. You can just write this here. This is heat capacity at constant volume. This is heat capacity. Yeah, wait a second. At constant pressure. This much is fine. Or you need a more.
You have to draw that.
Sure, you can draw it. It will be helpful only. You can draw it. Done, all of you? Done, yes or no? अरे भाई क्या हो गया? Wait, okay. Let me zoom this out. Yeah. Done?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now let us write the relationship between CP and CV. Okay, CP and CV. Acha. Let us do something. What we can say now, what we can do here is, let us say that the change in temperature is same. I want to increase the temperature in both of the cases by 1 degree Celsius only. I want to change the temperature by 1 degree Celsius only. But now what will happen? The heat required will be different. So heat required in this case, we will write this as QV, and heat required in this case, we can write this as QP. Okay, QV and QP. Now let us write. We can say that QV is equal to CV times delta T, and we can write QP is equal to CP times delta T. Now I want all of you to go back to the last class note, and there I have made a few cases like this. If you have isothermal expansion, if you have isochoric, if you have the P external is equal to 0 free expansion, and then you have the pressure external is constant. Okay, so I have made these 4 categories. In that, go and tell me what is QV and what is QP. What is QV and what is QP?
Sir, QV is delta U and QP is delta H.
Very good. So all of you, did all of you see that? Yes or no? Reba, Surat, Muhammad Umar, Abhinav. Yes. What is QV? QV is delta U and QP is delta H. Okay, QP is delta H. Now what we need, just need the relationship between delta U and delta H. So we know that delta H is equal to delta U plus P delta V. Okay. Now for P delta V, what I can write this expression as delta H is equal to delta U plus, for 1 mole of gas, I can write this is equal to delta RT. Okay. That means if you have pressure into volume, which is equal to nRT, if volume is changing and I'm keeping this number of moles as 1 mole, then I can say P delta V is equal to change in the terms R and T. Now, since R is constant, the only thing that can change is the temperature. So delta U plus, what I can say this is R times delta T. R times delta T. Now I will be plugging in the value of delta H, which is equal to Cp delta T. Okay. So I will write Cp delta T is equal to Cv delta T plus R delta T plus R delta T. Now what I can write this as Cp delta T. I will take this term on the left hand side. This will be minus Cv delta T is equal to R times delta T. Now again I can write delta T. Let me take that as common. And I will have Cp minus Cv. This will be equal to R times delta T. Now a very good occasion to eliminate the delta T's, and we have this Cp minus Cv is equal to R. Okay, this is for 1 mole of gas, and this will be Cp minus Cv is equal to nR for n mole of gas. But rather this is more famous equation. Yeah. Let me scroll zoom this out. Yeah, you can write from here, I hope. Done, yes or no? Okay, Surat is done. What about Atif, Muhammad Umar? Are you guys done? Okay, Atif is done, Reba is done. Okay. What about Umar Abdullah? Umar Abdullah is done. Yes, Umar Abdullah. Umar Abdullah, are you done? Yeah, okay. Now write a small question. Calculate the energy required to raise the temperature of water in swimming pool of water in a, or let us say, of 10 to the power 5 liters of water in swimming pool from 20 degrees Celsius to 25 degrees Celsius. They have said the specific heat of water is 4.184 joules per Kelvin per gram. Try to solve this. I will give you 2 minutes. Otherwise, I can start solving this. Let me know if you're done. Okay. So, okay. Are you guys stuck? Or are you guys doing this? Yes, Atif, Surat, Umar, Abhinav, Reba, Rikhab. What happened, guys? Are you guys doing? Yes, Surat, are you doing this or no? You're stuck
They're doing.
doing it. Okay. Okay, so you have been given this specific heat capacity, no? The specific heat of water. You just need to write the formula for specific heat of water. Okay. Specific heat capacity of water is the heat given divided by delta T times the mass in gram. Now, as you can see that this part of equation is given. This part is also given. Now, the mass is not given directly. So mass can be derived from the information that is given here, right? So mass is what? The density of water is 1 grams per ml. Okay, that means if I multiply 1000 here, I can multiply 1000 in the denominator also, and that will become 1000 grams per liter. 1000 grams per liter, because 1000 ml will be equal to 1 liter. Okay, that means mass is how much? 10 to the power 5 into, that is liters. So I can just put this much grams. So you have all the terms. You just need the Q, which will be equal to the specific heat capacity of water times delta T, which is 5. We can write Kelvin because they have given Kelvin, times mass, which will be equal to 10 to the power 5 into 10 to the power 3 grams. So this will be equal to 4.184 joules per Kelvin per grams times 5 Kelvin times 10 to the power 8 grams. Now here you can eliminate a few terms, and the answer you will be getting will be in terms of joules, which is, if I compare the unit, it is correct, times 10 to the power 8, okay, times 4 also is there. Okay, so 5 4s are 24, 18, no? So this will be somewhere around 20, yeah. And again 20, 5 4s are 5 2s are, you know, so I can say this 4.2, that means this will be somewhere around 20, 21, 20.9 or 21, something, somewhere around 21 this will be. Calculate this and tell me now. Keep this 10.8 joules separate. Calculate this and tell me. 5 4s is 20, 5 2s are 10. Yeah, somewhere around. I think that is correct only. 20.9. No? Oh.
Yes.
This is 20.92 into 10 to the power 8 joules. Okay, that you can write as 2.092 into 10 to the power 9 joules, which you can also write as 2.092 into 10 to the power 6 kilojoules. Done?
Can you scroll up?
Yeah, sure. You want to write the question? This is important, okay? This part here. This was the missing piece of the puzzle. Done, guys? Yes or no? Okay, okay. Let me just zoom this out so others can also write. Those who are not writing the question, they can write the answers.
Done.
Now, let us use this information of heat capacity, and we know this now that if we measure the heat in terms of constant volume, I will be getting the change in internal energy. And if I measure the heat at constant pressure, I will be getting the change in enthalpy. Okay, change in enthalpy. Now, acha, I want all of you to guess. Okay, this is only guesswork here. You have three terms here. You have heat, you have heat capacity, you have temperature, and you have internal energy. Similarly, here you have enthalpy, here you have temperature, here you have heat capacity at constant pressure, here you have heat at constant pressure, heat, whatever heat is involved at constant pressure. Now, all of you, please send me in chat. There are four terms I would say: heat, heat capacity, temperature, internal energy. Okay, enthalpy, again, heat capacity, temperature, and heat. Which of these four terms you can measure? And you have a device, you know of a device that you can measure. Which of these things? Tell me. In these two equations. Think about heat. Think about what can be used to measure heat. Then similarly for heat capacity, similarly for temperature and internal energy. You have to tell me which of these properties can be measured. I mean, that you can measure. Which of these properties can you measure? You understood my question, yes or no? Atif, Reba, Rihab, Surat.
No, sir.
No, you did not understand. Achha, you see four terms: QV, CV, delta T, delta U.
Yes, sir.
Now take one term and think, can you measure it? Do you know any instrument that can measure heat? Do you know any instrument that can measure internal energy? That, okay.
Yes. Okay.
Now you understood the question? Okay, fine. So tell me in the chat. This is not testing of your knowledge, okay? This is not testing of your knowledge. This is the testing of the inadequacy and the limitations of humans, okay? We are learning thermodynamics, and let us see how many things can we measure. Okay, fine. Atif, tell me what instrument will you use to measure heat? Yes, Atif.
No, sir, I just guessed.
Arey, guess nahi. What you can measure. I'm not asking about what can be measured. I said, what can you measure here? What do you think is? That means whatever you are saying, na, it can be measured by a dash. That is calculation, na? That is not measuring. Okay, Reba, can you please turn the mic on?
Yes, sir.
You said about an instrument, na? What is that instrument?
Thermometer.
Thermometer. So what does thermometer measures?
Heat. Temperature.
Heat.
Temperature.
Temperature. Thermometer can only measure temperature. By that temperature, you can calculate different things. Okay, fine.
Yes, sir.
Now we are going to calculate. See, internal energy. We don't know anything that can measure internal energy. Okay, all the instruments that you have seen till now, I mean, thermodynamics is not a very recent science. It is an old science, like around, I would guess, mainly it's like 1600s also, I guess. Some of these thermodynamics principles would have been established. So these, whatever modern instrument you have, these were not present there. Okay, so thermometer is also an old instrument. The mercury thermometer, at least, it is an old instrument. The digital one is obviously a new one. So we are going to measure the internal energy change and the enthalpy change by using thermometer, है ना? By using thermometer. So let us see how this can happen. How this can happen. We have to set up an experiment now. Okay. We have to set up an experiment now. Okay. You guys will be not writing these things. Okay. You guys will not be writing these things. So we want to measure the internal energy change. Okay. Delta U and delta H. Both of these things are nothing. Okay. Both of these things are heat only. This is also heat. This is also heat. This is when we measure at constant volume, and this is when we measure at constant pressure. Okay. Don't stress about delta U and delta H very much. These are same things. These are heat when measured at constant volume and constant pressure. Okay, fine. Now let us take one case. What do you guys want to take? Which case? Constant volume or constant pressure? Take one case now, then we can make an instrument, a specific instrument that can measure delta U and delta H. Huh. Okay, Atif, you choose one. Atif, choose one case.
Sorry, sir.
Choose one case na. What do you want? Constant volume or constant pressure?
The constant volume.
Constant volume. You want constant volume. Okay, fine. Then we will now make an instrument in which we will have constant volume. I want to have constant volume. Okay, constant volume. That means if I will have constant volume, then the pressure can change. Then the pressure can change. Okay. And if you are calculating some change, there will be a state A. It will be converting into state B. Okay. It will be converting into state B. Okay, fine. Now what we will do, let us see. Constant volume, then we will have a box here, obviously, right? This is a closed container in which you cannot, there will be no change of volume. There will be no change of volume. And I want this change happening from A to B happening inside the volume, okay, inside this particular vessel. So let us say this is a reaction, okay? Whatever substance we are going to react, it will be here. It will be inside this particular chamber. Okay, fine. Now what I can do is I can place a thermometer here. Okay, I can place a thermometer here. Now the only thing that I want to do is maybe, let us say this vessel, no, it will have some specific heat. That specific heat is given to us by the manufacturer. Okay, let us not worry about this now. I will tell you how to measure the specific heat also, but as of now we don't want to worry about it. We just have a temperature thermometer here which we can use to measure the change in temperature. Okay, fine. Look at this system and tell me, do you find anything which is not right about the system, or can there be any error in the system if I measure the delta T, the change in temperature, in this way? What do you guys think? Achha, you guys are not thinking. We have a thermometer here. You have a thermometer here, which is used to measure the delta T. Okay, see, if you can see a problem here is that the problem is you may be having some air here, right? You may be having some air here because we are not keeping this in vacuum. There will be some external pressure, or that external pressure will be due to whatever air is present or whatever reaction is happening due to that. Now, since you have air here, you have to also consider the specific heat of that air. Maybe let us say that that is given by the manufacturer. Okay, but if I keep the thermometer like this here now, then obviously you can say that the change in temperature which is happening, whatever heat is given out, it is given out like this. It does not have a specific direction. It will be given out in all directions. Now, whatever change in temperature will be measured, it will be measured only due to a fraction of heat that is emitted by the system. Yes or no? Can all of you see that problem? Tell me. Just suppose that you have a container like this, okay, and you have a container that this, here there is some experiment going on, and it is liberating heat in all directions like this, okay, in all directions like this, and you have kept the thermometer here. Now, obviously, this thermometer will be only able to detect the heat surrounding this part, okay, surrounding this part. Now, we need to make some changes in the, we need to make some changes. Now, for that, what I can do is, now this is a upgrade, a constant volume, okay, a constant volume is there. Now, I will surround this particular constant volume with a substance, okay, and that substance will be water. That substance will be water. So I am filling this whole thing with water. Okay. Now again, the reaction will happen here. The reaction will happen here. We have the thermometer here. Now there is again one problem, that again, same thing. The heat is coming out all of the way. So maybe whatever the rise in temperature will be here, it will be something different to what the rise of temperature is at some other places, right? Now what I can do is I can put a stirrer, right? I can put a stirrer. Now this stirrer will revolve and it will move around the water molecules. Now all the water molecules, they are uniformly distributed, and hence I can say if I measure the temperature at any place in this particular container, the temperature will be constant. Okay, that temperature will be constant. Now this is a sort of thing which we use. This is a sort of thing which we use to measure the delta H and delta U. Okay, so for measuring of delta H and delta U, we use this type of instrument. So for the measurement of delta H, we need to have what? We need to have constant pressure, and for delta U, we need to have constant volume. Now we use simple calorimeter for the measurement of delta H, and for the measurement of delta U, we use bomb calorimeter. Okay, so I will put up the photos of both of them, and then we can explain those parts. Okay, this is very similar to what we have devised till now. Okay, this will be very similar to this one. So write simple calorimeter. First of all, write simple calorimeter. Okay. Meanwhile, please, while you are reading these notes now, please, now as soon as you start seeing now delta T's and C delta V and CP delta T and CV delta T, please start inside your head that delta T can be measured, and that is why we will use this formula for the calculation of enthalpy change and the internal energy change. Okay, simple calorimeter. Now I need a photo that I will borrow from the internet. Yes, tell me.
Sir, can you show the diagram?
नहीं, diagram तो हम बता रहे हैं ना अभी आपको. Diagram I am putting it up. Okay, don't worry. No. Okay, wait a second. Can I use this? Okay, so this is the simple calorimeter. So you can also use a coffee cup for the measurements of this type of experiment. Okay, So this is completely closed. And then you have some stirrer here, and you have the thermometer, and you have covered it. And as soon as you cover it, the volume is constant. Okay, the volume is constant. So you can draw the simple calorimeter, all right, used for measurement of the enthalpy change, that is the heat involved at constant pressure. No. Yeah, at constant. This will be at constant pressure now. Yeah, because we will have the P external, right? We'll have the P external used for the measurement of delta H, which is constant pressure of P external. Then you can write that QP, which is equal to delta H, this will be equal to the specific heat of the calorimeter times. Now calorimeters, it will involve a few things. First of all, the whatever the substance is used, like here it is styrofoam cup, na? So it will have some heat capacity, and then there is water which will have some heat capacity. So all of these terms will be included in the specific heat of the calorimeter times the delta T. Okay, the change in temperature. This is how we will measure the delta H, internal energy change. Done?
Answer.
Okay. And then there is bomb calorimeter. Bomb calorimeter. Okay. Again, I have to. Maybe I can use the. Okay, so this is bomb calorimeter. Wait a second. Okay. Yes, Muhammad Umar. Okay, so this is bomb calorimeter. Now there are a few things which are different here. Okay, so you have firing leads, there is oxygen inlet, right? The other things are same. Thermometer, the stirrer. Then you have, okay, what is this bomb? This bomb is this internal vessel. Okay, the inner vessel that we had now, this is known as bomb. Why it is known as bomb? Because we are going to burn whatever sample is present here. We are going to burn this. Now, for burning of anything, we need oxygen. That is why there is an oxygen inlet. Now, if I'm going to burn this thing, then what will happen? It will produce heat, and that will increase the temperature. That will increase the temperature that can be seen by change in temperature in the thermometer. Okay. Now this bomb calorimeter, as all of you can see, that it has a constant volume. I mean, it is rigid here. It has a constant volume. Okay. So you can say that what is measured here? Delta U is measured using bomb calorimeter. Using bomb calorimeter. Okay. And again, delta U. Here, whatever heat will be involved, it will be under a constant volume, and that is equal to delta U. Now this will be equal to, since QV is equal to whatever the specific heat will be there of the bomb calorimeter, B cap, times the change in temperature. Now please understand this bomb calorimeter, it will have the heat capacity of the calorimeter itself and its content. Write this down. Let me know if you're done. If you want to expand this, you can also write this as of bomb calorimeter times the specific heat of water, because water is present inside the bomb calorimeter, times delta T. Okay. So this bomb calorimeter and its contents, it includes both of them, the water and the bomb calorimeter. Please write this down. I will give you a question that will help you in understanding this. You write this down. Let me know if you're done.
Yes, sir.
What about others? Atif, Surat, Umar Abdullah, Muhammad Umar. Done. What about Muhammad Umar? Are you done?
Done.
Done. Okay, fine. Now write a question. Calculate the heat transferred. Calculate the heat transferred to bomb calorimeter by burning of 1.25 grams of octane, 1.25 grams of octane, which led to a temperature change, from, let us say, 294 Kelvin to 301 Kelvin. Okay. The specific heat of calorimeter and its content is 8.93 kilojoule per Kelvin. Try to solve this problem. Let me know if you're done. Let me know if you're stuck, okay? Yes, Atif, I think that is correct. I'm waiting for some other answers. Yes, Surat, Rihab, Reba, Muhammad Umar, Umar Abdullah. Are you guys doing? Surat, are you doing it or are you stuck? Yes, Surat,
Are doing.
doing it. Okay. What about Reba?
Doing so.
Okay, okay. Hurry. You guys are taking so much time. Okay. First of all, what we have to do now, when you have this type of question, you try to visualize this thing, okay? Rather than just going what they're asking specific, they're asking the heat transferred, but you know that heat means many things here, okay? It can mean many things here. So what you're trying to do is visualize this thing, what is happening here. So they are asking heat transfer to bomb calorimeter by burning. Okay, that means they are burning something. Sorry, they are burning something, and due to this burning, obviously, if you burn something, there will be some heat. Okay, there will be some heat, and then you have a bomb calorimeter. Let us say like this. Okay, we have a bomb calorimeter, and this heat is increasing the temperature of bomb calorimeter from 294 to 301 Kelvin. So obviously this temperature difference is important for us, delta T, which will be equal to 7 kelvins, right? Yeah, 7 kelvins. Now, okay, I want all of you to tell me, we are more interested in this heat, right? Yes or no? Reba? We are more interested in this heat, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
And that heat is displayed by the change in temperature, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does it matter where this heat is coming from? Does it matter where this heat is coming from?
No.
No, no. That means we don't need this part of information. Correct? So we don't need this information, right? So now you know what type of formula you have to use. You have the heat present. Okay, you have the heat, you have the temperature difference, and you have the specific heat capacity. So you will just write the specific heat capacity. SHC is equal to, okay, specific heat of the calorimeter is this much. Okay. So directly write Q is equal to C times delta T, which will be equal to 8.93 kilojoule per Kelvin. Temperature is 7 Kelvin. So Kelvin and Kelvin cancel each other out. And this will be almost equal to 7 nines are 63. So somewhere around 63, right? 62.5.
You don't have to use the mass.
No, it doesn't. Why we want to use the mass? See, it is getting burned now. So what is getting burned? We don't need that. Yes or no? You only said no. Huh, Reba? It doesn't matter where that whatever we are heating, whatever we are burning. What matters is how much heat is coming out with that burning, and that heat is very much corresponded by this temperature change. Okay, that is why we don't need that mass. Okay. So if you calculate, this is 62.5, I guess. All of them are getting the same answer, kilojoules. Done? Done. Okay. Now let us write. Okay. You understood this, Muhammad Umar? Why we don't need the mass of octane?
No, sir.
Acha, you did not understand. Acha. Acha, till here you understood, na? This how we use this to visualize this. We are burning something, and if
Yes,
we burn
sir.
something, that will give it heat, and whatever heat is given, that is displayed, and that can be seen by the change in temperature. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. And we have to calculate what? We have to calculate the heat, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Now tell me, let us say you have two cases in which we are first of all burning octane. Okay. And here we are burning, let us say, the LPG gas. Okay. We have put this in stove, LPG gas. Okay. Now both of them will give it heat, correct? Yes or no? And in both of them, let us say the change in temperature is from 294 to 301 Kelvin. Okay. From 294 and 301 Kelvin. Now you tell me, we just need the heat now. It doesn't matter where it is, whether it is from octane or whether it is from LPG, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now you understand why we are not considering anything that is from octane. Whether it is, I mean, how much octane is used and how much octane is not used, that is not our concern, because it would have been our concern if the temperature change was not given. Then we would have to calculate whatever heat is there from this octane. Okay, then they would have to give some other information regarding octane. They are giving us information regarding the bomb calorimeter about its heat capacity. So whatever source of information you need, it is upwards from heat. So while you are heating, the temperature is increasing and the heat capacity of the system is given. So you multiply that. Okay. Please write this. Let me know if you're done. Let me know if you're done, Muhammad Umar. Okay.
I'm done.
Okay. Now, right, the next topic. Now we are going to deal with reactions and the, now since all of the reaction that we do now, all the reactions that we do, most of the reactions, they are done at 1 atm pressure, right? At 1 atm pressure. That means whatever change I want to measure, I will be measuring delta H, right? Because a reaction, it will be either endothermic or it will be exothermic, right? That means it will be involving some kind of heat, okay? And heat at 1 atm, that is constant pressure, is QV, and QV is nothing but it is delta H. Yes or no? You understand all this train of thought, why we are going to now only learn about delta H, okay? Because in chemistry, we are more interested in reactions. Reaction can be endothermic or exothermic. That means they will be either wanting heat. That means they will be either absorbing heat or they will be evolving heat. And heat at constant pressure is known as QV. And QV is nothing but the change in enthalpy. Okay. Now, please write the enthalpy of reaction. All of you understand this reason now why we are going to study enthalpy of reactions now and not the internal energy or anything else. Yes or no? Yes, Reba, Muhammad Umar, Atif.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so please write enthalpy of reactions. Now, enthalpy of reaction, it is shown by the sign delta H with a subscript of R. And write the definition of this term, enthalpy of reaction. It is the enthalpy change. The enthalpy change. Now, what does enthalpy change means? Heat absorbed or evolved. Heat absorbed or evolved, okay, in a reaction. In a reaction when the number of moles of react completely to give the products in a, not in an experiment, not any laboratory, in a balanced chemical equation. Okay, so this is very important that whatever enthalpy of reaction is, it is based on the balanced chemical equation. Okay, it is based on the balanced chemical equation. This is very important. So let me write an example. For example, if you have methane gas and you burn this particular methane gas in oxygen, then you will be getting carbon dioxide plus water. Okay, carbon dioxide plus water. Now, 2 moles of water will be there since CH4 is there. Now, since we are burning methane, there will be some heat involved, and heat will be evolved here. It will be emitted by the system because we are burning. Hence the negative sign here, and 890.3 kilojoule. Okay, 890.3 kilojoule. Now, what does this mean? What does this mean? It means that, see, this reaction, particular reaction, it has some meanings. Okay. Now, again, it is very similar to what we learned in the first chapter, that is stoichiometric coefficients, right? We learned about stoichiometric calculations now. It is now very similar pattern here. The only term that you can see has increased is the delta HR. Okay. So what we will write, the translation of this particular equation is 1 mole of methane reacts completely with oxygen to give or to evolve 890.3 kilojoule of heat. Okay. Now, please, you don't have to get confused. You will say, sir, minus A, sir, minus A. Okay. So to give or evolve, it means minus. Okay. Negative sign, it just signifies that the heat has been coming out of the system and the system is not absorbing any heat. It is only evolving, or it is giving out heat. Okay. So to give or evolve, it represents the negative sign. Okay. That negative sign is represented by to give or evolve. Okay. Please write this down. Let me know if you're done. All right, let me know if you're done. Yes, all of you are done. Yes or no? Umar.
So wait, I'm writing.
Okay. Yes, Umar, done. Let me know, please, if you're done.
Done.
Okay. Now let us see. We have the enthalpy of a reaction. We have the enthalpy of reaction, but again, we need to standardize this thing. We need to standardize this thing. Why? Because, for example, let me take an example of again. There will be some problems if I have carbon. Okay, I want to burn. There is an experiment in which I have to burn carbon. Okay, and I want to measure the heat involved. I want to measure the heat evolved. Fine. Now, first question will be which carbon? Like if I take the elemental carbon, it has two forms. Okay, so carbon either can be graphite, or it can be diamond. Okay, so which of this carbon do I have to burn, and which of this will be used for the measurement of the heat evolution? Will be used for the measurement of heat evolution. Now, another next thing is that, for example, if I am using the same CH4, but rather than the gas one, I'm using liquefied methane. And if I burn this particular liquefied methane, it will be giving out some different quantity of heat. It will be giving out some different quantity of heat. So there are various things which should be standardized in order to maintain some records of standard heat of enthalpy of reaction. Okay, so maybe we don't have to do this particular reactions every time to check what is the heat of, what is the enthalpy of reaction. So please write standard enthalpy of reaction. Okay, standard enthalpy of reaction. Standard enthalpy of a reaction. This is given by delta HR. Everything is same, but there is a sign like this. Okay, a degree sign, or you can also see sometimes like this, a theta kind of sign. Most important point, the delta HR naught is pronounced as, not pronounced, I would rather say it is said as delta HR naught, NaUGHT. Okay, it is said as delta HR naught. Now let us write the definition. What is it? It is the enthalpy change. The enthalpy change of what? Of a reaction. No? Of a reaction. The enthalpy change of a reaction when all participating substances are in their standard states. What is standard state? Standard state is the most stable state of a molecule or a compound, most stable state of a compound or element at 1 atm pressure. Write this down. Let me know if you're done. We will do a question, then we can close this class. Okay. You want to write these things. Don't have to write that. Just write from standard enthalpy of reaction. You guys can write a question. Guess what? Red phosphorus reacts with bromine as follows. 2 moles of phosphorus solid plus 3 moles of Br2 liquid gives you PBr3. And this will be how many moles? 2 moles, right? Yeah, 2 moles of PBr3, which is a gas. And there is some heat involved here. which is equal to the negative of 243 kilojoules. Okay, the question is calculate the enthalpy change this is HR naught. Okay, calculate the enthalpy change when 10.33 grams of phosphorus reacts completely with bromine. Write this question, try this question for 3 minutes, then I can give you the answer. Okay, fine. So see here, you have to, when you are reading this particular question, you have to specify which are things which are important. Okay, things which are important. So you have to calculate the enthalpy change when 10.3 grams. So obviously this is going to be important of what? Of phosphorus reacts completely with bromine. Okay, completely, fine. That means it is going to use this particular equation here, this particular equation. Now, it doesn't matter what it is reacting with. It doesn't matter what product it is giving. It only matters it is, you have been given 2 moles of phosphorus. When it reacts with bromine, doesn't matter how many bromine, it gives us something, but it also gives me minus 243 kilojoule of heat. So directly you can say a relationship that 2 moles of phosphorus will give you minus 243 kilojoule of heat. Okay. Now what do you need to do? You need to convert this in terms of moles. So number of moles of phosphorus in 10.33 grams will be equal to the given mass by molar mass, which is equal to 10.33, the given mass divided by molar mass is how much? 31 grams per mole, 31 grams per mole. Okay. So you calculate this. Okay. Now you have got the number of moles here. Now what you can do the stoichiometric calculations like this, no? That 2 mole of P gives minus 243 kilojoule. 1 mole of P gives minus 243 by 2 kilojoule of heat, and 10.33 grams divided by 31 grams per mole of P gives minus 243 by 2 into 10.33 moles. Okay, just calculate this. This is very much like stoichiometric. Okay. Is 6.5. No, you have to. Okay, here there is 31 also, no? 31 grams per. This will be somewhere around 40. That's minus 40.